Hi, this is Yvonne McNary, and I'm here today with Elizabeth Creed. How are you doing, Elizabeth?
Just fine.
We're getting that cooler weather now, so we're looking for a little heartier meals. And what did I see? But in January on our calendar, we have a heartier meal today.
Very hearty.
Yes. We've got the slow cooker Swiss steak. And you know, for those people who follow us, this is a new calendar for 2012.
That's right.
And we'll have those available at Central Kentucky Television, Channel 6 here in Lebanon, and around the county. If you'd like to get one, all you have to do is give us a call or stop by, and Elizabeth will get you one.
That's right.
And so that you can be with us when we cook the different recipes.
That's right. And if you anywhere you are, actually, in the state of Kentucky, you can pick up one of these calendars at your local extension office. So no matter where you are, find your extension office and you can get one of these calendars free of cost to you and go through the recipes with us each month.
Yes. And you know, we've had some really good recipes, some really interesting ones, some things in the past that I never thought would go well. The black-eyed peas, that salad, I mean, I just never figured that to work out at all. But actually, it was very tasty and very healthy.
Well, and you never know if you don't try.
No, you don't. And that's one thing that we like about these different recipes. They're usually very healthy for us. But you can make them a little unhealthy by adding some different ingredients to them. But when we show these to you, we encourage you to use the healthier way and the healthier portions.
That's
and
right.
Sometimes that gets into the way also.
That's right. There's always ways to alter a recipe, and which you'll see. I think every recipe that I've ever made on here, at least, I have altered the recipe somehow. That's okay though. There's nothing wrong with altering a recipe. It's what's best for you and what works for you and your family and your household.
Right.
So, I'll go ahead and read the recipe for January. The name of the recipe is Slow Cooker Swiss Steak, so we're using our crock pot today, which is a great gadget for the kitchen. The recipes include 2 pounds of boneless round steak, 8 medium new potatoes, 2 cups of baby carrots, 1 medium onion sliced, cooking spray, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, 1 15-ounce can of diced tomatoes with Italian seasoning drained, 1 12-ounce jar of home-style beef gravy. And the ingredients, the steps to putting this together, what we're going to do is we're going to take our steak and cut it into smaller portions, and then we are going to put it back here on our skillet and just brown it a little bit. That'll kind of get the juices flowing a little more, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our crock pot with our vegetables. So, for TV purposes, so that I don't have to wash my hands because of food safety, I'm going to use a glove today for cutting this meat. Okay, so I'm just going to slice it right down here in the middle. And one thing about purchasing meat, when you go to the meat department at whatever store you use, try to look, even though this recipe calls for 2 pounds of boneless round steak, see if maybe there's something else that maybe, if this one was maybe a little too expensive, try to get maybe a manager's special. Sometimes they'll have them on sale. Whatever works for your family. Or maybe if you live by yourself, and obviously this would be quite a few meals, you could cook it and freeze it, or you could see if you could purchase a smaller portion of meat.
Okay. And I want to let everybody know also that all the ingredients for this recipe can be bought at your local grocery store of your choice. And we always encourage children in the kitchen when you're cooking. But when you are cutting with a knife, we ask you to please be careful with kids.
That's right.
Because we don't want any accidents. But we do want to always encourage them to cook.
Yes.
This is, I'm going to say, a 6-quart crock pot.
I believe so. Yeah, that's about a 6-quart.
This is about a 6-quart crock pot. And there are all different sizes out there, but crock pots are wonderful.
They are. And they're not very expensive to purchase. You can get them here locally. Not too expensive. Of course, you can, like anything, you could spend a lot of money and get a really nice one that had all the gadgets. But this one here just has an off, a low, and a high. And it's perfect. It works just fine. So before we put the meat in there, we are going to spray the skillet back here. And we're just going to brown them just for a minute back here. Just right on the outside, we're going to brown it. So, and this isn't going to take long at all. And while this is browning, we'll cut up our potatoes and get them in.
And that fits better in the skillet too, doesn't it?
It does, yes. Well, it's cut up. Yes.
Okay. Now, this is one of those recipes that the men in your life will love because it has meat and potatoes.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Now, normally, if I was cooking any meal, I would not do this, but I'm going to do this because it's all going to be cooked, okay? I'm going to cut my potatoes on here, and there is raw meat on here, okay? But normally I wouldn't do this, but since it's all going to cook together, our meat is still going to be raw when we put it in here, it's going to be okay. But normally this is a no-no. So we're just going to cut them in big chunks like this. And we can go ahead and put them in. If you would open the pot up, Yvonne. The potatoes and the carrots will go in first. And then the meat will go on, and then we'll put the onions on last. And you can cut your potatoes a little smaller if you would like, whatever works for you.
Okay. Now, this is actually going to cook for quite a while.
Yes.
On low for 7 to 8 hours.
On low for 7 to 8 hours. And you could, of course, cook it on high for a little less time than that.
But you know, this is one of those meals that you can put in the crock pot before you go to work in the morning.
That's right.
And when you get home in the evening, there's a wonderful dinner.
It'll be ready.
It will be ready to eat. Yes. And that's what I love about my crock pot. You put it in there in the morning, you get home in the afternoon.
And it's ready to go.
It's ready, yes.
That's right.
And it cooks nice and slow, so you don't have to worry about any of your food burning.
And it will be tender. Once you get home, it will be very tender. Okay, now I'm going to move this over here.
Okay.
Yvonne, if you would dump the carrots in there on top, and I'm going to wash my hands real quick because I have raw meat.
Okay. Here are carrots going in here. And like I said, everything that's in this recipe can be bought locally. So you can find these at your grocery store. It's a very easy recipe.
And I am using the little baby carrots that just come in a package by itself. And you can do that, or if you had carrots, sometimes the prices vary, but these were a little cheaper, so that's why I got those. I'm going to put a little, the recipe calls for seasoned salt, and I'm just going to use just a little salt to put on the meat back here, just a little bit, not much at all. And I'm sure I didn't use quite a half of a teaspoon because I just sprinkled it on. And the same with the pepper. I'm just going to sprinkle that on. It's just going to give it a little bit of an extra flavor. So you can see that they're starting to brown up. And I think I'm going to flip them real quick just to brown the other side. And again, we're not cooking these all the way. We're just getting it. That's right. Just getting the juices flowing. Oops, that one may have cooked a little much.
That looks really good, and it smells good.
It does smell good.
Very good.
Okay, and then one more thing that I want to talk about with this recipe. It calls for the can of diced tomatoes with Italian seasoning. Well, if you look at the food labels at the store and you compare between what I got, which is the diced no salt added potatoes, so the sodium in here is 20 milligrams for a half a cup, and the sodium in the Italian seasoned diced tomatoes was 300 more milligrams than that.
Wow.
So I bought this, and I'm going to use some Italian seasoning that I have, and the ingredients in the Italian seasoning is just spices: oregano, marjoram, thyme, rosemary, and sage.
Okay.
So there's no sodium in this. So very little sodium here. The only sodium that we will have is pretty much what's in the meat and a little bit in the tomatoes. And then the other way that we're going to cut out on the sodium is the gravy. It calls for a 12-ounce jar of home-style beef gravy. And that's not necessary. You don't have to buy that. You can use the tomatoes, and I'm not even going to drain the tomatoes. I'm going to use the juice. because there's no sodium.
Right.
We don't have to worry about that.
And that can be your sauce.
And that will be the sauce. That's right. And if you would like, you can put a little more water in the bottom of it. You just want to make sure that there's enough water in it to keep water in it throughout the cooking process, because you don't want it to burn up. You don't want it to be dry. That would not be good.
No.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to reach back here, grab this skillet.
Got our steak.
And we're going to go ahead, and you can see these are not cooked. They're pink. So we're just going to lay these on top here.
Nice and seared. Now that's supposed to hold the flavor in.
That's right.
Seal the flavor in while the meat is cooking.
And I can smell it. There's some good flavor in here.
Yes, there is.
Okay. So now we are going to make sure I do this in the right order.
Okay.
The ingredients, again, it says to mix the tomatoes with the gravy, but we're not even doing the gravy. I'm just going to pour the tomatoes right over top. Okay. Shake that down a little. And then I'm going to put some Italian seasoning on the top.
Okay. Now this says here that this recipe makes let's see, dinner for 8 servings.
Onions. Yes.
8 servings. And the cost per serving is $1.35.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
That's not too bad for
Yes.
having such a hearty meal like this.
And the entire recipe itself came to $10.83. But we saved a little bit, though, because remember,
sure did.
We didn't use the Italian tomatoes.
That's right.
And we didn't use quite as much salt and all that.
That's
so
right.
anytime you cut back, you save a little bit.
That's right. We didn't have to use the gravy. So, and the Italian seasoning, we already had here. So yeah, definitely saving a little money. So now this is going to be on low for about 7 to 8 hours, or you could turn it up to high and do it a little bit less time, and it will be just fine.
Okay, I can't wait till this gets ready.
Oh, it already smells good from
Yes, it
cooking
does.
that meat.
When we come back, we'll have some slow cooker Swiss steak.